Hey guys, welcome to day 1 of group 4. Our Do Now asks, have you ever heard of Reconstruction before? If so, what do you know about it? If not, what do you think it is? I want to start by taking a look at the word reconstruction itself. When you construct something, remember you're building something. So reconstruction, you're building something again. What do you think that means? Take the next couple minutes and update that, then continue playing the video. Next, we're going to take a look at our learning target. It says, I can build background knowledge about Reconstruction. So taking what you already know, we're going to build on that today before we get started reading our text. Remember, when we're building background knowledge, we're looking at what are the historical information to know and what is the definition about the term. What is Reconstruction? We're going to get started with our independent work. For this, we've got 3 questions we're going to answer. Remember, when we're answering questions, we want to start by annotating the question, finding the correct section in the text for that question, and then asking if it's character motivation, like our first one. Why do they think what they do, or what do they want? We're going to start by reading our article today. It looks like this. It should be a separate packet. There are 3 pages of text, along with several images of life for African Americans during the Reconstruction era. As we are reading, we're going to start by looking at our first question. It asks, why did the Ku Klux Klan threaten Black communities in the South following the Civil War? Pause this video, go ahead and read and annotate your text. Once you're done with that, go ahead and continue, and we'll take a look at this question. This question asks, why did the Ku Klux Klan threaten Black communities in the South following the Civil War? We need to start by annotating this question. Notice it starts with why, and remember, anytime we have a why question, we're trying to figure out the character's motivation. In this case, we're looking at the Ku Klux Klan, so we're looking at the group's motivation. When we're looking at that, we're looking at why did they threaten Black communities after the Civil War? So we're going to go back in the text, and you'll notice that this is being discussed on page 45. It's the first time we see the Ku Klux Klan is mentioned. So it talks about some new groups of whites who threatened us all year long. So next you'll notice in my example, I've got some annotated text. When we're looking at this, we're looking at what are some of the reasons the text tells us that they would be doing this. You'll see that it says that the Ku Klux Klan were convinced they were somehow superior to Black people. That means they thought that they were somehow better. Next, we're looking at this annotation that says they, here, that it was a way of keeping us in our place. They couldn't stand to see us trying to be equal to whites. When we're looking at this, we need to think about why would they do these things? What do we know about them? So I want you with your claim to be thinking about they threatened Black communities because what do we know about them? How would we describe them? And then I want you to think about what do they want? Then you're going to add in your text evidence. If you have questions about that specifically, please reach out to your Group 4 guided reading teacher. Pause this video, take the next few minutes to answer that first CTQ question. Again, that is, why did the Ku Klux Klan threaten Black communities in the South following the Civil War? This does need to be a full UREC response, so please make sure you have your claim, 2 pieces of text evidence, and explanation for both of those as to what does that tell us and why is it relevant. When you're done with that, continue playing the video to look at our CTQ number 2. CTQ number 2 asks, what were the causes for the failure of the Reconstruction? Write a full constructed response. At this time, you should have already finished reading and annotating your article, so we're going to jump right into that. I want you to think about specifically when it says what were the causes. I want you to think about what was the reason that the Reconstruction plan did not work? What caused it to fail? As you're going through, I want you to think about what is explained in this story that might tell us that. Start looking specifically on page 43 of your text, and you'll see some information about that. Take a few minutes to go through and then continue playing this video. Annotate in the article on page 43 what specifically were some of the things that might have led to it not working as they planned. When we look at this, it tells us on the bottom of page 43 what's going on at the end of slavery and how the Freedmen's Bureau helped. But it says at the bottom, these were very big steps, but our progress didn't come without a price. The time after the war was terrible for Black folks. So as we're looking at this, I want you to think about specifically what were some of the things happening that would cause it to go different or to not work. Think about why were the various reasons. My hint for you here is there were 3 reasons. Try to find all 3 and then do your full constructed response with text evidence for each. Then we have our final question for today. This one would have been a group discussion, so this is where we would have started when we'd come to a small group. And it gives us that quote that I just read. The time after the way was terrible for Black folks. Why does the author use the word terrible to describe Black life in the South following the Civil War? Use at least 2 examples from the text. So I want you to think about, what do you know about the word terrible? What's that mean? Then I want you to think about what would happen or what was happening that would have made life terrible in the South following the Civil War for a Black person. Use at least 2 examples from the text. So we need to go back in the text and find out what was happening that would be considered terrible. Specifically thinking on the bottom of page 43 where that quote starts, think about what were some of the things going on. So you'll see it says, even though we could vote and go to school, which are both good things, most of us were very poor and illiterate. So that if someone's illiterate, remember that means they couldn't read. So they were very poor, they had very little money, and they couldn't read. Then it says Union soldiers, so soldiers from the North, occupied southern towns to keep the peace, but didn't do much to protect Black people. So that tells me here that they were not feeling safe, even though the soldiers were there. So when you're thinking about all of these things, I want you to think about why then would the author use the word terrible to describe life in the South. Once you're done annotating the text, make sure that you are writing down and fully answering with at least 2 examples. If you have any questions about anything from day 1, please reach out to your guided reading group 4 teacher. Thanks, guys.